So I read the book Bringing Home the Birkin by Michael Tonello, a hot pursuit of the most coveted bag in the entire world. So let's go ahead and talk about it. He walked into the Hermes store, bought basically $3,000 worth of scarves, and then popped the question, by the way, do you have a Hermes Birkin? So now the sales associate goes, let me go check in the back and I'll be right back. But first, if you are new to my channel, my name is Sigrid. You may call me Ziggy. I talk about luxury handbags, real estate, travel, finance, and minimalism in this channel. So I would like to ask a favor from all of you guys. A lot of you are actually watching my videos. Not all of you are subscribing to my channel. So if I can ask you a favor, if you can like and subscribe to my channel, I would greatly appreciate it so I can go ahead and make more content like this. And I promise you, I will try to make it better each time that I do these videos. So the first thing that I want to tell you is never ask for a Birkin unless you already bought a lot of stuff, specifically a 1-to-1 ratio when you are buying your first Birkin bag. Anyway, let's get into the story and this really juicy story, you guys. Okay, so the book actually talks about Michael Tonello, and he is an accidental reseller in Birkin bags. So what happened was that, he was living here in the United States, and then he moved in Barcelona, Spain. And when he moved over there, there was supposed to be a friend of his that was supposed to hire him, but then that didn't end up happening. So what happened was that, he, first of all, had to think about some strategies how he could make a living, because now he's in a foreign country and that, he needed to also obviously make some money. And so with the help of his mom, the mom said basically that, you know what, I believe in you. You can come up with something that, you're gonna work on stuff. So Michael Tonello, by the way, you guys, he's a makeup artist and also, fashionista like us. So that's really what he was doing prior to selling the Birkin handbags. What is funny is that how he became accidentally selling the handbags. So basically, when he got to Barcelona, he started thinking of selling some of the items that he's no longer using that he brought from home in the United States. And one of those was a Hermes tie that he used from a black tie event a long time ago. And he sold it in eBay. To his surprise, somebody bought it like right there, just as fast as he listed it on eBay. So anyway, he started exploring and then went to Hermes stores and then bought some scarves and stuff like that, and then met some really lovely ladies that was buying his scarves. And so that's when he started rolling over all of his, scarf stuff. So he met a lady named Grace through when he started selling scarves on eBay, who's actually a sort of so-and-so connoisseur for scarves. She was coaching her as far as what is the hot new trend, from their group and stuff. Like, if you are going to go ahead and start finding scarves that are older and are no longer being sold, they are actually more valuable because a lot of people are looking for all these Hermes scarves. What he also realized at that time was, and this was back in 2001, 2003, so a while back when he was doing this, when Hermes still did not have any website. So, a lot of people really wanted to buy Hermes stuff, but the thing is, there's only, a few stores. They don't have a website. And so he basically exploited that idea that, I'm going to sell stuff because Hermes still didn't have their own website at that point, right? So he bought all of these nice fancy scarves and he was in touch with this beautiful soul. He calls Grace, and they have been in contact, and they've just selling scarves on eBay. And then all of a sudden, another client of his, after selling scarves, asked him, do you even sell Birkins too? So he did not know what a Birkin was, right? And he was completely naive what a Birkin is. And so he said, what is a Birkin? Oh, it's a most coveted bag. And you know, you cannot really get your hands on a Birkin unless you spend a lot of money, and unless you have to wait for 2 years. They are very, very hard to get. That's what the other lady was telling him. So now he was on a mission to basically figure out how to buy these Birkin bags. So then what happened next was that, you know, because he was still buying scarves, and that's basically what he was selling at this point, rather than, you know, the Birkins, he walked into the Hermes store, bought basically $3,000 worth of scarves, and then popped the question, by the way, do you have a Hermes Birkin? So now the sales associate goes, let me go check in the back and I'll be right back. That is when, you know, the magic happened. And so he got a first Birkin, which is a Birkin 35 centimeters, with his purchase of worth $3,000 of scarves. So you guys, you have to remember, this is back early in the 2000s, right, when he was doing this. And 3,000 back then, of course, is already a lot of money. So, you know, he was buying the Birkins for $7,500. I cannot believe. And imagine right now how much the Birkins are, right? So it's been a long time since that happened. But I think that the rules from a long time ago still applies to today, because, you know, you still have to buy. So that being said, that's why I said to you guys earlier today that never pop that question for buying a Birkin unless you already bought a whole lot of stuff, right? Continuing with our story, basically, right? So then he basically now goes back to, you know, his group that he's been emailing. At this point, he has already a lot of clients from eBay. So he has like a long email list of everybody. And then, you know, he was basically communicating also with one of his clients that he basically got a Birkin. And then the lady was basically saying like, how the hell did you pull that off? You know, each time that anyone asks, basically, you know, they always tell that there's a 2-year wait, or it's really hard to get. But anyway, you know, he was happy to sell it. And as soon as he listed it, it's gone. So the Birkin 35 was gone. And so because of that success, he kept thinking over and over again, how can he game the system and how can he get more Birkins so he can sell it? Because the first Birkin that he bought, he profited at least about $5,000, at least that's what he said, right? So at this point, he was on a mission. So no longer scarves, but this time the most coveted bag, Birkin bags, is now the goal. So to cut the story short, you guys, what he did was, you know, recreated the same thing that he did at the first store, and did this all over EU. When I say all over Europe, you know, it's gonna be basically in Barcelona, Paris. He traveled everywhere. And also, one more thing that I wanted to tell you also is that in south of France, he mentioned that there are, and I don't know if that this is still the case as of this time, there are boutiques that are actually, you know, franchised. So they are not really, you know, owned, so to speak, by Hermes now, right? They were individually owned. And what he said was, with these stores, basically, you know, they don't have to return any unpurchased merchandise to the flagship store in Paris, and so they get to keep more of that stuff that they are selling. And so that's where he actually got a lot of the old scarves too, and everything and all that stuff. And I also heard, just worth mentioning, right, that there was another influencer here who basically said the same thing, that there are flagship stores, there are stores for Hermes that are not owned any owned by Hermes, but actually owned by personal individuals that they bought franchise. Anyway, and I think they said also it's easier to get a bag from those franchise stores. So there was a store in south of France and another store I think that he went to that at some point, it got shut down and it got closed because I think Hermes did not want to do that anymore and they shut them down basically, right? So I don't know if that's still a thing right now, but anyway, just wanted to tell you. And it's easier for him, he said, it's easier to buy your Hermes Birkin bags, in places like far across where he would travel 2 hours away from Paris, from where there's an Hermes, obviously, right, to get those bags, which is, it's wonderful. Anyway, so back to the story. He traveled a whole lot with everywhere in Europe, and he also went to the Asian markets such as Japan and all that stuff. So he kept doing the same thing. So basically his strategy is spend first, never ask for the Birkin until you get to the counter and then ask for the Birkin. So he also went to, auctions as well in Paris where he met a lovely guy. He says his name was Luc. And Luc was a very, very good looking guy that one of the essays in Paris actually loves him. So to summarize the story is that, Luc became his accomplice basically, to get the Birkins from Paris because Luke says that, this guy is really, really in love with him. And so he could get any Birkins at any time. So that's exactly what he did, right? So he went in Hermes, got the Birkin bag from, the lovely lover, whatsoever, whatnot, and then gave it to Michael Tonello and then sold it basically, right? And so Luke gets like 500 euros for getting the bags basically. So it was like an in and out type of situation. Anyway, to end the story with Luke, what ended up happening to him was that he actually at the end, he actually started scamming Michael because now, he was asking for, the full profit at some point, which was $5,000. And so what happened then was that it was really funny because it was like a gangster style type of situation where, Luke basically, one of the Birkin bags, which is also a Croc Birkin, it was worth $22,500. He basically held it hostage and did not want to give it to Michael because he was asking for $5,000 at that point. So he was basically, extorting Michael at this point because of, I guess he grew some, evil stuff that he's like, okay, you know what? Why don't you give me all the profit just for this one time? So, he got greedy basically, right? So anyway, with the help of some friends from Michael, he basically hired 2 security guards to help him out secure the bag. And so he had to fly back to Paris and then hired 2 security guards to get the bag basically from the apartment of Luke, which at the end they were able to take the bag with them. So I really suggest you guys, these are just little parts and tiny bits of the story that I'm telling you, but I really do suggest that if you wanted to really, really read this book, it is absolutely beautiful book and it is a must read. I'm just basically giving you guys, a summary of what I've basically read, right? He also mentions, and this is something that I wanted to mention to you guys too. He also mentions about, his inner circle, which is now his, his list of clients, which he calls his H inner circle. And I just have to bring this up. I know that there's an influencer here. I'm not going to say any names. There's an influencer here who's charging a huge amount of money. I think it's $5,000 to get to their H inner circle. So if you are ever wondering where she got that H inner circle, word, I think she basically read the book. She basically read the book. But all I can say to you guys, you know what? There is no magic formula to buy a Hermes Birkin. So don't be fooled by spending $5,000. That's naive to spend $5,000 just to get a secret sauce to buy your Hermes Birkin bag. I have been in that route, and I will tell you, trust me, there is no secret to buying an Hermes Birkin bag. It is basically you have to spend money, specifically a 1-to-1 ratio, if you can, so that you can get your Hermes Birkin bag, and a lot of patience, right? So don't spend your $5,000 just so that you can, get a secret sauce. There's no secret sauce. Anyway, back to the story, you guys, right? So when I was reading this, it was really funny because he told all of these stories about also him spending a lot of this money, and then all of a sudden he was spending so much money that he's got a lot of miles in his credit card, enough to buy them flights and stuff like that and all that stuff. He also has a partner, so I'm not going to go into details with that, and some other another partner also that he met that was employing now the same strategy so that they could get bags. And at some point he had so many croc bags that he was able to sell it to a very wealthy lady, which is she was a lawyer, and she bought basically most of the croc bags that Michael was selling at some point. And he was really happy about that, and so he had now connections and stuff like that, right? He also met in Hermes. His name was Sergey, and Sergey was actually offered him a really very nice Kelly bag. So this guy Sergey has that he met in Paris basically sold him a Kelly Lakis bag, and he met this Kelly, the maker of the Lakis bag, in one of the events that he went to in Hermes, right? And he was basically saying that this guy was naive, and he was basically just always dressed up down to the T and everything, which is I guess it's great, but he didn't really sort of like his cocky style or something like that, or whatever, right? But anyway, he went to all of these VIP stuff as well, and learned about everything in Hermes and stuff. And at some point too, and this one is another tip, you guys, at some point too, he said that if they were on the display, and this was a long time ago, that you can buy those bags as long as you know what to say, right? And again, he employed the same tactic each time that he is buying these bags. So anyway, it was a really fun story. And then, the attorney, that one of his clients that he basically was selling some of the crocodile Birkins that he was buying, the lawyer at some point even asked him to help her out, to drive one of the cars, which is an Aston Martin, back to where she was living and stuff like that, with some Birkin bags. Anyway, very juicy story, you guys. It's really a funny story. So to make the story short, you guys, it's actually such a wonderful story that I think you guys should go ahead and read. So what are my key intakes to this one? Really quick, my key intake is that what he's done in the past might still work today, and I think a lot of people are doing that, especially when you're buying jewelry that is worth $10,000. Of course, if you're buying at a one go a really expensive jewelry, you have higher chances of buying a bag, if it's a 1-to-1 ratio. When he was buying it at the time, he was spending $3,000 for a $7,500 bag, like a regular leather bag, right? Today, in present, you have to spend $10,000 to probably get a Hermes Birkin bag. So I think it still applies, right, you guys? So anyway, I read it so that give you guys some sort of like a very very summarized rundown. Anyway, let me know down your thoughts below. Do you think that whatever he did in employing these things still applies to today? Would you do what he would be doing, right? So obviously right now Hermes is probably cracking down on some of the resellers, and you can't really no longer do that, right? And so that's why, hence, even though sometimes you are buying something very expensive, they don't really give you the bag right away, but they do wait, because I think that they understand that a lot of resellers do that. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching my video. And if you like these types of content, again, my name is Sigrid. You may call me Ziggy. I talk about luxury handbags, real estate, travel, finance, and minimalism in this channel. Make sure also to watch some of my other videos that I'll pop in here and here. Until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Bye for now.